more of it like over the video feed inside the control center in the APC. And you see like Gorman and like Ripley's reaction to it more so than you actually see it happening on screen. And I think it's really cool and even more haunting when you just get snippets of it over that video feed from like each of the Marines have like a camera on their helmet.
Oh yeah. And then
you basically see the majority of that ambush through the cameras. You don't see it. You don't really see most of it happening on screen.
It's almost as if the xenomorphs get upset because they come upon somebody that was a part of the colony that's been cocooned and is begging to be, I think, killed. And then soon after, a chest buster arises. So then they light her up with the flamethrower, and then that kind of almost, it seems like it pisses the aliens surrounding the area off, and then they just come off, and then it's like an all-out war.
Exactly. That's exactly what happens. And by the way, that scene is one of the more like horror aspects of the film.
Yeah, because
when they find that woman, because it's really creepy.
Yeah, she's discolored and just seems like she's been there for a while. And then something that we haven't tackled on is the fact that the first film makes one xenomorph aboard this ship where you can't get off. Super, super scary, you know what I mean? But then this one kicks it up a notch to where you don't know how many xenomorphs. There's too many to count. So it's like, think of everything it took Ripley to overcome just one. And then now they're pitted up against like an unprecedented amount of these, ferocious aliens that have fucking acidic blood. So even when you do win, you get hurt, and and they show that with for example, Vasquez. She gets cornered and she pops one in the head, and the acid gets on her leg, and then she's immobilized, and that kind of plays into when we lose her as a character because she can't move fast anymore.
Yeah, it happens. You're right. It's a reminder throughout the film. Hey, they have acid for blood. They're not easily killable. They have this defense mechanism, which I think is what's mentioned in Alien, when they try to cut the facehugger off of Kane. Because there's the part where they're trying to escape, and there's an alien that pops up near Drake, and Vasquez turns to shoot it, but in shooting the alien, it sprays acid all over Drake, which kills him.
Yes.
When the alien tries to bust through the door of the APC, Hudson sticks the shotgun in its mouth and shoots it, but he gets sprayed with acid in the arm. So there's all those moments. And I just want to say, like, going back to, the scene where they just before the ambush, where they find the woman, and there's the chest burster, like, the look on Ripley's face, like, Weaver is great, because you can see the trauma of her reliving that moment where Kane dies in the first film.
Yeah, because she's it's kind of hinted at that she's having that this reoccurring dream of her being the victim of the chest burster, So when that becomes a reality, and seeing that poor lady, like, from the colony actually, having it happen in real time, she's very good at conveying that emotion where she's like, holy shit, like, there is an infestation here, and shit's about to go down.
Yeah, she's got PTSD from what happened in the first film. And just the look on her face when she sees that happening is fantastic. She's clutching at her chest. She's got the eyes, the hollow look on her face, almost crying, thinking about it, reliving that moment. But what I like about it is 2 minutes later, when the shit obviously goes down, she's the one that takes charge. It's not Gorman, because he completely freezes up.
Yeah, I feel like everyone would have been slaughtered if it hadn't have been for Ripley pulling together and driving over there.
Yeah.
And saving everyone.
She's the one that gets it together. She knows what she has to do. Even if she's traumatized, even if this is like hard for her, she says, I need to get my shit together because these people are depending on me. She knows she can't rely on Gorman.
I think that I read that a lot of fans regarding an Alien 2, before obviously this one was made, they wanted a male main character this time around, and I feel like it's really special that they fought against that and they kept it to be Sigourney Weaver, because I feel like her character and her as an actress, like pulling that off and then being nominated, like this popcorn sci-fi film around this time, sci-fi was largely looked over, you know, and to be nominated for Best Actress for Aliens is pretty, you know,
it's incredible.
Yeah, it's a profound moment.
And it's always been that way, where sci-fi gets completely overlooked. You know, a lot of horror movies get completely overlooked. We've talked about just in the last few years how great like Toni Collette and Lupita Nyong'o and Florence Pugh have been in horror films, just completely ignored. And sci-fi is the same way. So it's amazing at this point in time, like you said, that she was recognized. Unfortunately, didn't win. But it's nuts. And it very, very rarely happens. But going back to what you said, yeah, they wanted a male protagonist, which, what is with people? It's like all these people with Star Wars always bitching because there was like a female main character.
You know, I'm not gonna put them on blast like by name, but I have some coworkers who are women who actually brought that up to me, how annoying it was that the newer Star Wars films have predominantly like women characters, and they thought that it was super weird because they're just like forcing it in there. I'm just like, yo, do you guys realize that you're women? Like, what? That's such an odd thing to bitch about, you know? It's like saying like, no, I don't want equal pay me less or something. Like, why would you, why, you know? I don't understand.
I think a big part of it sometimes is stupid male fans can't put themselves into the place of the main character because the main character is an opposite sex, which is so fucking dumb.
If you're a movie fan, you should have somewhat of an imagination, so.
Tell me a good story, man. That's all I really care about. I don't give a shit, like, if it's male or female or what race that character is. It's like, hey, is this story awesome? Cool, like, that's what I'm after. So I've never understood, like, oh, I don't like this movie because the main character is, you know, someone who is different than me. It's just so fucking dumb. Like you said, have an imagination.
I've even had somebody say, like, I don't watch movies that have to do with, like, kids or something, or, like, where, like, they're trying to make, like, a kid like a real main character. That's annoying to me, so I don't watch them. And they're referring to movies like Logan and stuff, like, serious stuff like that. I'm just like, okay, why? Like, that's such a weird pet peeve to have. Okay. I don't know, man. People are strange.
We should watch The Lost Boys now.
Yeah, yeah. That opening. Even though it's a cover, right?
It is a cover, yeah. I forget who the cover is by, but it's not The Doors. So anyway, so that scene with the ambush is awesome for a dozen reasons. It's one of my favorite parts of the movie just because of how it's shot and how it's edited. Let's see. I want to go back to earlier in the film when they wake up out of hypersleep. Speaking of a great character moment, Pone wakes up and immediately like grabs a cigar and puts it in his mouth.
He has it like in the chamber with him.
It's like, yeah, right? It's in it. It's in there with him. He just like wakes up and the first thing he grabs is that cigar and puts it in his mouth. Even though I don't think he's smoking it at all in the entire movie. It always looks like he's just chewing on it. It's just like something to have in his mouth.
Similar to doesn't Clint do that in some of the where he's not the
yeah, where it's just kind of in his mouth.
Yeah, like a kind of like what's the correct word? Like a not a tick, but like just a ritual type of deal.
Just yeah, some kind of thing. It just needs it. But even like when when he has it, when Pone has the cigar and Ripley does her thing with the power loader and says, hey, where do you want this? He's like got this cigar and it's all chewed up in his mouth. But when she says, where do you want it? He just like laughs. He's like, ha 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 ha. Bay 12, please. He's so great. But there's that part. So the part with the knife, right? Where they do the knife trick.
Yes.
Which is, if I read that, I haven't seen it. We talked about this a couple months ago. I think it's an homage to Dark Star, the John Carpenter movie.
Okay.
Like his first film. I think that's where he gets it from. So I've seen this movie in the theater multiple times. Not in its original run, unfortunately, because I was too young. And we'll get into this in a moment. But one of the times I watched this in the theater, it was on a midnight show, like at the Landmark La Jolla, when they used to have the midnight shows. And I go with a bunch of my friends. My friend Chris Asakawa included. I'll give him a shout out because this is a movie that he and I watch all the time. And then we'll always like text each other lines from the movie. And then immediately like the other one will get back to us with like another line from the film. But I go with a bunch of my friends and Chris Asakawa included. And we go to watch the movie. And this was 16, 17 years ago maybe. It's obviously filmed. This is before digital. So you're watching a 35 millimeter print from however long ago. They get to the knife trick and the whole scene is like cut out. It just kind of starts with Drake putting his hand like under putting his hand under Hudson's, and Bishop goes to start the trick. And then all of a sudden it jump cuts to like the end of the trick. And the whole audience was like, boo, and like throwing shit at the screen and everything.
Why did they do that?
And two things. Either the film was damaged at that point and they had to chop some of it out in order to salvage the film. Or my guess is some dipshit projectionist along the way decided he really liked that scene and cut it out completely.
Oh, like he spliced it to take it or something?
Yeah, like he cut it out, took it, and then spliced the film back together. That would be my guess, because I've known some people like that in my time.
What would they do, just frame it as a cell?
That's a big chunk of film. Yeah. Like, you'd have to roll it up. But yeah, you can cut it up and frame it as a cell, I guess. But it was so funny that we're watching this movie. You know, it's like a packed house. It's a midnight show. So everyone's there having a great time. They're super stoked when the trick comes up. The trick disappears from the movie completely. And the whole audience is like apoplectic. Like,